Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
This is your host, Alicia Debrell from Insight Media. Today, I have the privilege to interview Reza Parsiani. John has over 15 years of high-end luxury real estate experience in the Florida market. John is now the Vice President of Business Development Online at Cervera Real Estate, the largest developer representative in the state of Florida, with over $5 billion in exclusive listings, and also the Senior Sales Executive at Aria on the Bay, one of Miami's most anticipated luxury new developments. John is going to give us some insight on what it's like to be part of a project like Aria on the Bay and the type of clientele he helps on a daily basis. So without further ado, I want to welcome Reza Parsiani to the show. Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alicia. Thanks for having me.
This is going to be great. I would love to know just a little bit more about who you are and where you come from and your business experience.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it as short as I can. I'm originally Persian. I grew up in Sweden, and I moved to Miami about 20 years ago. So, it's been an interesting experience and journey through life. And, having lived in 3 different continents and traveled to many more countries and settling down here in Miami, Florida 20 years ago, I've seen the growth that has happened in this city and what is now a global city. And I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so tell me this. What made you want to start a career in real estate? How did that come about?
Well, it wasn't my aim in the beginning. I actually started my education with aviation computer engineering and got my degree, finished my degree, a business degree with a focus in entrepreneurship and business management. I was employed by Delta Airlines for a time, and I was the executive sales manager for Southeast Florida at that time. Basically 4 days in my car most of the time, going and visiting different accounts like Bacardi USA, American Express, and so forth around Southeast Florida. And in that time, basically I was negotiating contracts, and I was in my early 20s and responsible for somewhere around $60 million worth of accounts that I was negotiating. So real estate in the early 2000s was just taking off, and the airline industry was not, at that time. It was a very difficult and challenging times in that industry as well. So it was a natural change for me to go into to real estate, and I was presented with an opportunity, and I took that, and I haven't really looked back ever since. It's an amazing field to be in. I'm very grateful for having had the corporate background and the discipline that comes with having worked in the corporate field. But I'm also very grateful for, being in a field where you literally do not have any kind of a ceiling, if you will. You get what you put into it, and you get to help people with what I believe is the most expensive financial decision, or the largest financial decision of their life, and where their children will grow up, where they will have memories in their homes. So I think that touches me in my heart, and I'm proud to serve in that capacity.
Tell me a little bit more about who you help and how do you help them. Like, who are the clients that you help? Who's your ideal client?
Well, in my 15 years as a broker in this industry, I almost can say I've done it all, if you will. I've done the general real estate side, where you're dealing with buyers and sellers, and you do listing presentations, and you do showings of homes, and you negotiate contracts, and you bring the 2 parties together as far as the buyer and seller are concerned. And then most of my career went into leadership and management and mentorship of other agents and other professionals in the industry. And recently, about 2.5 years ago, I actually went into I believe the last field that I had not had experience in previously in real estate, which was pre-construction, new development, sales. And that was a totally different world for me. I wanted to get into that world, and it was a high risk, obviously, and I was discouraged by many people saying you're crazy for doing that, and because there's really no safety net, if you will, and it's high risk, high reward field. So, but I wanted to, I like challenges. I like to always grow and learn and no more in my industry. So that was the last frontier for me, at least. And I'm blessed to have had that experience now for the past 2.5 years. It's really, it's a very dynamic field where you're not so much working. My clients, about 30% of my business still remains with the general real estate side, basically selling homes, working with buyers, and so forth, negotiating land deals, hotel deals, some commercial as well. So that's 30% of my business now, but about 70% of it now comes from the development side, which is a different animal in that you're basically working with real estate professionals. So those are mostly my clientele, where I'm developing relationship and helping other real estate professionals educate their buyers, and I'm educating them in turn on what's happening in the city of Miami, what developments are coming up, at what prices, what floor plans, what are the advantages, disadvantages. And so most of my time now are with real estate brokers from not just locally, but nationally and globally as well. So I travel around the world quite extensively. And last year, I was in many places. I was in Turkey twice, in Peru twice, in Chile, in Guadeloupe, Martinique, Hawaii, and I can go on. But it's a privilege to have the honor of being able to travel nationally, locally, and globally, and educate the different markets, buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals, or any related fields as well, on what's happening on the ground here in Miami, how development is progressing, what neighborhoods are coming up, what's the next big area or the next big potential neighborhood that's developing, and just giving them, an overview. Because in my travels, I've really found that most people, and some even locally, but mostly national and globally, when they think of Miami, the image that comes to their mind is kind of a Miami Vice, or that's kind of an outdated image of Miami.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
So I like to, and I always encourage them. I said, you know what, if you haven't been to Miami, I always ask, when was the last time you were there? 15 years. And I said, well, that's a different city altogether. It's a different planet altogether than what it was 15 years ago. We didn't have the opera, the ballet, the theater. We didn't have Midtown, Wynwood, Design District, Brickell, South Beach, Miami Beach, south of Fifth. All of those areas were nothing of what they are today. So if you haven't been in 15 years, if you haven't been in 10 years, I would even say if you haven't been in 2 or 3 years, you really don't know Miami and what's happening on the ground here. It's a city that continues to reinvent itself.
So, John, that actually brings me right to my next question, which is, tell me a little bit more about the different areas to invest on the Florida coast, and what type of properties could somebody invest in, either locally or maybe abroad? I mean, I would assume you would have a lot of international investors, too, that you work with, considering how much you travel and educate across the world.
Absolutely. I mean, Miami is a true melting pot, and much more so than it's ever been. We've typically had the South American demographic here for a long, long time, but now we are truly seeing a lot of buyers from Europe, from Scandinavia, from obviously Canada has always been one of our top buyers here, and Asia now is the biggest and the most exciting new market that has discovered Miami and that sees the value and sees the benefits of being here. As basic and as advanced as you want to be. As basic as the amazingly clean air and the clean water that we have here, to the most complicated of investment and different strategies that they have. So they found a lot of different opportunities that are in Miami, and they're actively looking and pursuing and actually active in the purchase of different opportunities here. Most of that obviously is in the commercial side on a much larger deals, but that's how it starts, right? So typically, obviously, we do have buyers that buy 1, 2, 3 units and so forth, second home, third home, vacation home, first home from abroad in general, specifically with China as well. But most activity that we see from the Asian continent now comes in the form of larger purchases. So, entire buildings and entire lots and so forth. So it's exciting to see that market discover us, because years ago, we weren't even in their top 10 cities that they would look at when they looked to come to or invest in the United States. last year we were in their top 5 cities that they looked at in the United States. So we're gaining popularity with them. A lot of we see a lot more Asians in University of Miami. We have top-notch schools, which is helping that cause, obviously. We have some of the best schools in the country, K through 12, and university as well. And some of the best hospital systems here. The city's really grown. Some of the best cuisines, our restaurant choices, I remember 20 years ago, left a lot to be desired, so to say. But now, much more, you see some of the best restaurants from New York, from around the globe, come and set up shop here in Miami, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. So as far as the different neighborhoods, I'm most excited, obviously, about the downtown Miami. I think that's unique in a way where most cities around the world, they start in downtown and then they expand out from the core center. What's been interesting to see in Miami, at least from my perspective, is we've started from around downtown, all the neighborhoods around the downtown core of the city, meaning Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Brickell, Miami Beach, even as far north if you want to go with Sunny Isles and Aventura. And now we're kind of imploding into the downtown area and discovering the key strategic location of being in downtown. So funny enough, a lot of those other locations that I just mentioned are selling at higher and trading at higher price per square foot than the core center, the urban center of the city. So it's interesting to see that, which presents an amazing opportunity, obviously, because downtown is one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing community in all of Miami, if not the state of Florida, because there's $10 billion that's going into a 1-mile stretch of road, and not over the next 10, 15, 20 years, over the next 4 years, $10 billion. And again, it's a small number compared to what's coming down in the pipeline.
Okay, so, and you kind of went into most of this. First of all, I love how passionate you are about Miami and Florida. It totally comes out in your voice. If I was ever thinking of moving there, listening to you alone would close the deal for me, I would tell you that. But is there any benefits that maybe you didn't list on why somebody would want to invest in that small strip of space or condo right there on the coastline? Did you miss anything that maybe you could bring up?
Well, really, I would have to say, and this is a story that is a true story of my life. When I moved here 20 years ago from Sweden, my friends used to come and visit, and they were all excited, as everyone is rightfully so about being in Miami. But they used to tell me back then, okay, John, we're here in Miami. Now what do we do? And I used to always say you have 3 options. We can go to the mall, we can go to the beach, or we can go to nightclubs. Really, that was the main attraction or the main things to do in the city, at least at my age group at that time, at that level. So now there is just so many layers to the city. We have the opera, we have the ballet, we have theater, we have next to Aria on the Bay, 2 blocks away on the project that I'm the senior sales executive for right now and selling, which, by the way, is 76% sold already, and we have just over 100 units to go on that project. It's been one of the best-selling, if not the best-selling project in Miami for the past 2 years. 2 blocks away from that is the Adrian Arts Center for Performing Arts. So you can catch Broadway shows walking distance to you. You can walk through groceries, banks, restaurants, cafes. There's a park right downstairs there in that neighborhood, and this is part of downtown, by the way, in what's called the Art and Entertainment District. Right downstairs is a park it's an 8-acre park on the water, on the bay, with gorgeous South Beach, Miami Beach, Venetian Causeway views. And in that park, you have everything from tennis courts, beach volleyball, basketball courts, football field, running track, dog park, children's playground, outdoor gym, yoga. I mean, you name it, it's there. And they do movie nights outside in the, under the stars. We have marathon, triathlons. We have amazing activity in just this small waterfront community of downtown. But if that's not your cup of tea, which, I don't claim that's, it's a one shoe kind of fits all, then we have Brickell, which is the financial district. And by the way, the second largest financial district in the United States, second to New York. That's saying a lot. So most people are very surprised by that. We have the most concentration of international banks, over 1,000, just in Miami. So that's, it's a financial hub that is growing in leaps and bounds. along with, I would say, the Port of Miami expansion that recently happened due to the Panama Canal expansion that now allows for these mega cargo ships from around the world, from China, from India, to pass through the Panama Canal that they couldn't do before. Now they pass through there, and the Port of Miami is now the first port of entry in the state of Florida, and it's soon to be in the top 10 or 15 in the United States. That's gotten the attention of a lot of different businesses from New York to LA, obviously because we don't have state tax income either. That's a 10% savings for all those business people and companies, and also gotten the attention of a lot of the Asian market and different corporations from around the world that do business either in North America or South America. They use Miami as their perfect gateway, right? So we are the perfect gateway city for South Americans to access North America and Europe, and for Europeans and Asians to access South America. So if you have a business, for example, that you want to set up a headquarters, I would obviously, as many business owners I've talked to, be very cautious about setting up shop in a lot of the South American countries where the currency fluctuates quite a bit, where the political system is a lot more unstable, if you will. So rather than setting up shop there, they set up their headquarters in Miami, and then they filter their products down very easily now, especially with the port, down to South America.
Okay. So it seems like a lot of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of the people that are investing into those, the large ticket items like Aria and the Bay are more international.
Absolutely. More than 60% historically now in the past year have been international buyers. Now, I do have to say, it isn't, Aria and the Bay and most of the developments that we represent, and we have about 11 right now that we have across Southeast Florida, from Fort Lauderdale to South Beach to Miami Beach to Brickell to Edgewater to Art and Entertainment District, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables. All of these developments that we have, they are high-end, but they're not high-priced. So meaning at Aria, we have units starting at $400,000, right? So,
okay.
It's a very reasonable, and it's not a studio, it's a true one-bedroom, 1.5 bath at over 800 square foot on the inside, about 76 square meters as the smallest unit that we have for that price. And that's on the inside, plus the balcony are at about 100 square meters or over 1,200 square foot or 1,000 square foot on those. So very nice size. And when I travel to New York and I do public speaking or different presentations there, it just blows their mind that you can buy a luxury A-class building on the water in front of a beautiful park in the heart of downtown Miami for that price point, where you can't even buy a garage in Manhattan. You would be able to buy a beautiful home in Miami. So there's been some articles that and some people that have the view, and I've heard this for the past 20 years that I've been in Miami, so I'm not surprised, that Miami sometimes they say, well, this area is overpriced. And I always, when I travel to Turkey, for example, Istanbul is selling at or at higher price per square foot than we are in Miami. So how in the world am I thinking, can we be overpriced? When I compare us to any other world city, really, to most of the major cities around the globe, we are a fraction of the cost. Forget New York or LA or, Monaco or Paris or London, but Stockholm or, any of the other cities that you compare us to, we're still a bargain. So when I look at that, and when I look at how the city is growing in leaps and bounds, when I look at the activities that you can do, when I look at that within a couple of hours you can be in Key West or Key Largo or any of the keys down there, which is a completely different atmosphere than Miami. You can escape there for the weekend if you like, or explore that territory, or you can go to the Bahamas if you're a boater, or taking a cruise ship or by plane, and you're there within a short period of time, and you can enjoy the Caribbean very easily. Or you can go to Orlando and Disney World and explore that side if you're a family, if you have a family and you have children. And by the way, we're getting the high-speed train to Orlando, which is the all-aboard Florida that was actually just purchased by the Japanese as well. So we're getting that train. That's going to be finished this summer, right? So that is coming. It's going to connect downtown Miami to Fort Lauderdale to West Palm Beach to Orlando. So within, they're saying 3 to 4 hours, you'll be in Orlando. And the beautiful part about that is you won't have to drive. And I always say this, we had 65 million visitors to Orlando last year alone. And the 65 million visitors that come to Orlando, they all want to come to Miami. I mean, really, who doesn't? At least for a day or so. But a lot of them don't, because they have to drive, they have to rent a car, they have to get a few nights of hotel, they have to drive for 4 hours, they're going to get lost, the kids are screaming in the back, just forget it. We don't want to deal with this. With the all-aboard train, now you can come in the morning and go back at night. And while you're on that train, on that ride, you can read a book, you can be on the computer, you can be with your family, and you can take a nap. So it's quality time. So those are just some of the exciting things that you can do. Or you can go to Naples, by the way. Naples, Sanibel Island, Marco Island on the west coast of Florida, just a few hours away. It's a much more calm, kind of a sleepy town, but very elegant, very beautiful as well. So we have such a diverse environment around us. Even as far as 20 minutes away, we have Aventura and Sunny Isles, a completely different feel and taste. 10 minutes away, we have Design District, which is, I don't know if you know the Bal Harbour Shops, but it's one of the most expensive, most luxurious, exclusive malls in the world. Now we have Design District in downtown that is like Bal Harbour Shops on steroids. You have any brand that is, anybody that's anybody. Louis Vuitton, Giorgio Armani, Louis Vuitton, and they have global stores, 2 stories, all next to each other. And this neighborhood didn't exist 5-6 years ago. And it's just now, every global brand is there, and it's just beginning to take off. Emilio and Gloria Stefan just opened up their restaurant there, which is an amazing restaurant there as well. So we have that neighborhood. That's all about design and all about luxury shopping. And then right next to it, less than a couple of minutes away, you have Midtown. In Midtown, very trendy restaurants, very young demographic. It's just a melting pot of a community, very beautiful. So that's like where the new chefs that come to Miami want to make their mark known. That's where they go. And then right next to that is Wynwood. In Wynwood, we have Art Basel there once a year, in the first week of December every year, and that's one of the largest art exhibits in the world, and it comes to Miami every year. And, just to give you a fun fact there, we have more private jets on the ground in Miami at that time than anywhere in the United States. So the amount of wealth that flies in from U.S. and around the world just for that week is spectacular. Then we have music. We have the Ultra Music Festival, the Winter Music Festival. We have a truly rounded city already, but it's still growing, and I just can't wait to see what's coming down the line. And I believe in 5 to 10 years, you literally won't be able to recognize Miami for what it is, because just the amount of, the sheer number of billions from around the globe that is just being invested in this city, and the diverse communities that are developing all around. There's something for everyone. Industrial, there's just, I'm excited, and you can tell based on my,
I love it. You're making me want to come visit. Definitely. But okay, so you talked about there's so many benefits, and right now I could see investing now is a smart thing to do, because I could imagine in 10 years from now, if it's exciting and as growing as fast as you say it is, it's going to get more pricey. But are there any drawbacks or challenges that maybe some overseas investors have when they go to invest into the Miami coastline, maybe the Aria and the Bay, or one of your other properties?
Well, I found that knowledge is key, right? So most investors or most people that would like to purchase something in Miami from overseas, a lot of them that don't do it, not because they don't want to or necessarily that they don't have the means to, it's because that they either don't have a reliable, trustworthy contact on the ground here that knows the neighborhood, that knows what's suitable for them, right? Because it's not a one-size-fits-all. We have a diverse community here, and the downtown is not necessarily the best place for everyone. We might look at Coral Gables, Coconut Grove. We might look at Brickell. We might look at Miami Beach or Aventura, Sunny Isles, or Edgewater. So any of those neighborhoods. And so what I do first when I talk to a client is I try to understand them and their priorities. I try to understand where they are in life and where they want to go and where they're going, and so I can basically kind of tailor this experience for them, because my primary job is to support them in finding their dream home, kind of like a matchmaker, right? So I'm going to use my expertise of the past 20 years in the city to help you fall in love with, and find the one for you, whether it be a home or a condominium, whether it be a hotel or business or whatever that might be, anything that is real estate related. So I think that's the number one challenge for foreign buyers. The number two is, okay, so now that I've found the place, how do I either get a loan, which is most don't think that their financing is available for them or very easy. And right now, at least, it is extremely doable, and it's very reasonable. The rates that we have now, we're still at historical lows in interest rates. So it's the opportune time. Obviously, as we move forward in the next years to come, the Fed is going to start raising the interest rates, and that's initiated that already. So now is really the best time in terms of financing and what you are able to get as a foreign buyer or even local buyer. Another thing that I find is, with attorneys, having to deal with attorneys, title companies, mortgage companies, and their complementary fields to real estate for them to make that purchase. Again, they don't have contacts there, and I do, and my organization does, and we've selected the best of the best to be able to suit their needs, tax attorneys and so forth, to be able to help them maximize their investment. So, I would say those are some of the top challenges. And no matter what their priorities are, my job is to support them in that. And many times there's been where I tell the client, no, I don't think you should purchase, or don't purchase now, or don't do it in this neighborhood. I think you should do it in that neighborhood, because and then it's up to them where they move forward. But I've given them my 2 cents, if you will, and my expertise.
Well, and you probably deal with a lot of people when they're investing in the Miami area. It's more than likely a lot of people it's their second home or their second property or something like that, or investors. So is there any tax benefits or even problems that come up when it's your second home?
Not really, no. I mean, we have a very nice tax system. Like I said, we don't have state taxes, so that's a 10% savings right off the bat there compared to other major cities such as New York or LA. So, we have a very favorable tax system in Miami. As far as businesses, by the way, we're ranked in the top 5 in the United States for startup businesses. So this is a beautiful place now to grow your business, to expand your business in Miami, because, again, the diversity in the market and the population allows for that to happen, and the different neighborhoods springing up where they didn't used to exist before. So it's a very exciting time to be here. We have everything going for us. Like I said, some of the best education in the U.S., some of the best hospital systems, some of the best transportation systems. The weather is 23 degrees Celsius average all year round, which is 74, 75 degree, which is a beautiful thing. So, we have a lot going for us. And there's the sports side, if you like to play sports. Again, I grew up in Sweden, so it was 10 months of winter pretty much where I couldn't play golf or tennis outside for that matter. Here, you have 12 months. Here, it's, you can play all year round. Almost every week of the whole year, you can play tennis, you can play golf, you can play any sports, beach volleyball. We go to the beach oftentimes in December, January. It's a beautiful place to be.
So if you could give somebody one piece of advice that was considering making an investment in the Miami coast, whether it be on Aria on the bay, which is extremely intriguing, or maybe one of your other properties, what would that be?
Well, again, it depends on their priorities, right? So it depends if that's going to be their first home, second home investment. I kind of, like I said, I tailor it. There's no one size fits all, but I would just say, call me and tell me what it is that you're looking for, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed with the service and the expertise that you'll get in that field, because that's what my goal is. I don't do one transaction relationships. I go for the lifetime relationships, and the relationship is number one before any business. With any of my clients, I focus on the relationship. I focus on their families and what their goals and what their needs are, and then I try to tailor the business side to their needs.
Well, and that makes sense, especially because you have a wide variety of offers on the table. I mean, you've got stuff from Aria on the bay to that first-time home buyer looking for a normal single-family residence. You have a little bit of everything, right?
Absolutely. I mean, at Aria on the Bay, for example, just a price range for a condominium, we start at $400,000 for a one-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And we have 1 bedroom, 1 plus den, 2 bedroom, 2 plus den, 3 plus den, and 4. And then for those that don't know, it could be served as a small bedroom or an office or a library or playroom. So we have that range of unit sizes and different floor plans, and it goes from $400,000 to $2 million, right? And then that excludes the penthouse. That's $6 million for the single penthouse or $12 million for the double penthouse. That would be almost 10,000 square foot of space, 3-story, kind of a mansion in the sky with amazing views, pretty much, looking over the ocean, the South Beach, Venetian Causeway, downtown, North Miami, that area. So we have the range when it comes to condominiums, and we have the range especially when it comes to single-family homes as well. So, we have Aston Martin residences, by the way, that we're just launching now. We just started sales on. And again, these things kind of give you an idea of the market and what's happening on the ground here. When this is the first and only Aston Martin residence building in the world. And they didn't choose Hong Kong. They didn't choose Stockholm. They didn't choose London or New York or LA or Chicago. They chose to set up that building here in Miami, in downtown. Right, so it's going to be the first and only Aston Martin brand building in the world, and it's coming to Miami.
That sounds so exciting, and I just like the name alone, and I would love to, snatch gears in one of those cars. But bring me back to Aria on the Bay. So they range from $400,000 up to $2 million. What about HOA fees, and what does that include? If somebody was looking to invest in that property, what should they expect?
Sure. So typically with pre-construction, in general, the way we've done it here in the past several years in the market in Miami as a whole, has been a 50% deposit required for pre-construction, right? So that's a very good thing also, because that shows that the buyers are very real and very serious. Because if you're buying a $400,000 home, you're putting $200,000 down as a deposit towards that purchase. So you've done your due diligence, you've looked at everything, and you've decided this is the best place and vehicle for me to put $200,000 and my money into. If you're buying $1 million or $2 million home, you're putting $1 million down. So it shows that it's a very real market, that the buyers are very serious here. And that 50% is not on day one. So it's usually broken up over a period of time. So, for example, typically it's 20% down at the time of contract when you've decided which unit you'd like. So you put 20% down within 2 weeks or a month from that time. And then, for example, 4 to 6 months later, you put another 15%, and 4 to 6 months after that, you put another 15%. So you're 50% in before you go to close. And then you have that time to get financing if you qualify for it and if you like. Obviously, pre-construction contracts are all cash contracts. They're not contingent on financing. But a lot of buyers that I know obviously get financing, and they're fine that way as well. So that's the structure of the deposit. Now, at Aria on the Bay, since we are 76% sold at this point, and we just topped off the building. It's 53 stories tall. We just finished. We're in a good place. The developers are very happy. So they said, we don't need that deposit anymore because construction is pretty much, as far as outside goes, at least finished. So we can drop that down to 35% deposit on the remaining units. And as a matter of fact, 20% deposit on units above $1 million, and then 35% on anything below $1 million. So now that opens the door for the local markets. Obviously, a lot more people in the local market now find that attractive. So they only need to put 20% down, for example, 10% down now, and 10% down in a few months. So we do have some flexibility with regards to the deposit structure. Association fees are 64 cents a square foot. That only goes on the interior under air, as we call it, square footage. So anywhere between the $500 a month to $1,500 a month, typically on the largest unit, which is phenomenal, because at this building you're getting over 20,000 square foot of amenities. I mean, everything from a sunrise pool, a sunset pool, so you have sun all day in your pool, a 4,000 square foot social club room with pool tables, flat screen TVs, a bar, fireplace for, I guess, when it starts snowing in Miami in the future. We got that covered. We have everything from a state-of-the-art theater room, a children's and teens playroom in the building, of course, 24/7 valet and 24/7 concierge. So it is, you don't ever have to leave the building if you don't want to, but you're going to want to because there's just so much around to explore. And that's all for 64 cents per square foot. And then the only other fee is obviously the closing fee, which is typically 1.7% of the purchase price, and that covers most of your taxes and title and so forth.
Well, John, first of all, I want to say your passion about the Miami market, it's amazing. I love how passionate you are about working with your clients and the opportunities, because you have opportunities from, the first-time home buyer all the way to the international investor. So I love what you have to offer, and I love the passion that comes out in your voice. You kind of made me want to think about moving there myself, I'll have to say.
That's a good thing. Look forward to seeing you here in Miami then.
So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for maybe either Aria on the Bay or maybe some other investment that you have to offer, how would they go about doing that? Or maybe they want to sell a property that they have. How would they go about getting a hold of you?
Absolutely. And by the way, me and my team, we speak, last time I counted, about 14 different languages. So, any languages from English. I myself speak 4 languages. I speak Swedish, Norwegian, Persian, and a little bit of English. I'm working on that last one. And then also my team, they speak everything from Spanish, Portuguese, French, Mandarin, you name it. So we have that service to give our clientele. Now, the best way to contact me would either be through my website, which is www.parsiani.com. That's P as in Paul, ARSIAN as in November I, Parsiani.com. Or they can just contact me directly on my phone, really, which is 305 area code 788-7550. Those would be the 2 best ways, and then or an email at John, it would be JOHN at Parsiani.com. So they can contact me in any of those 3 ways. And on my website, obviously, I have all the information about what we do, what services we provide in real estate, and they can contact me that way as well.
Nice. Well, John, first of all, I want to thank you personally for making me get excited about Miami. I never would have thought about that before this interview, because I am. A prospective friend of mine just opened up a business down there. She just moved her business down there. So, and she keeps asking me to go, and now I'm going to go. So you sold me on that. You're so passionate. You can help everybody and anybody, and you have a lot of opportunities, and I really appreciate your time today.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys. Well, you just heard from John Reza Parsiani, and this is your host, Alicia Debrell from Insight Media. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.